Have I always wanted to become a physician? Not really, no. I came all the way from Canada to study medicine in Bialystok. So my trajectory, my path is somewhat different from other students here, or at least most of them. Right after high school, I actually didn't really know what to do, so I figured, well, my options were I can either enroll in a program that I really didn't know much about, or take a year off and see what life would have in store for me. So one day this army recruiter came in to school, and I figured, well, you know, it's regular pay, it's a good training, and you don't know what else to do, so I signed up, enlisted, did that for a while, and initially I just wanted to do it for a year, or a little bit. It turned out that I kind of liked it, so I got the offer to stay longer. Got additional training, graduated the academy, so became an officer, and deployed to Afghanistan. So I did this actually for quite some time, like 10 years in total. And once my service was over, studied in San Francisco and had a business major. And once I had my bachelor's degree in my pocket, wanted to continue. This time I went to the UK, so I got my MBA. And I figured, well, if you have traveled this far, maybe travel a little further. So took my stuff, hopped on a plane, and found myself in Auckland, New Zealand. So I got my first job there, the mayor's office. After a year, I returned to Canada, got a new job, worked in content review for a social media company. In high school, I was not particularly interested in any science, right? So nothing crazy in biology or biophysics, you know, none of that. So I wanted to have a look into this. So I signed up for online courses so we could do this at work. And they kind of, you know, I got hooked on it. So I started reading about it, human anatomy, physiology, and all that stuff. And that was quite interesting. I started wondering, even though I liked the job, maybe there's more than just sitting in the cubicle and looking at a screen all day. Maybe I could do more. So I started exploring, right? What are my options? What could I do? I'm of Polish heritage, right? So my family, both my parents were born and raised here. They immigrated in the mid-80s. So I was already born overseas. And I know the language, so at home we still speak Polish. So with my parents and siblings. And I figured, well, that's an asset. If you want to study in a foreign country, maybe you should at least know the language. That's like the least thing you could do. You start doing your research, and of course you read about all these fancy and old universities in Krakow and Warsaw. And they're all great, and I'm sure they have great programs and all. But then I also looked at the results. What do the graduates do? How do they score on the board examinations? So like the LEC in Poland, that's like the exam every physician needs to take. And I figured, well, why not start there to get most for the buck? A couple months down the road, I filed for it, applied, got accepted, the offer, and well, here I am. That's a huge problem in medical school, right? Every single subject turns to be a challenge. Not having a science background, well, it certainly didn't help, you know, so it's a little bit more difficult, but it's all manageable. I don't think it's really necessary to have a strong science background to understand all these things. In first year, I think anatomy, that's a big one. And they start right away, so there's no such thing as, hey, we have an easy start and, you know, you all can get used to this. No, the first day you go in, that's, you know, they mean business, so you have to know your stuff. Now, since I'm in third year now, so it's more connecting the dots, you know, to not have these random facts just, you know, being out there in thin air. Instead, now we have to evaluate and what's actually happening. So now things are changing for me in third year. Studying takes up a lot of time, and especially in first year there aren't too many nights where you can do anything but study, let's say. But it's of course important to relax. So before the pandemic, you do the typical stuff with all the other students. You go out, you socialize. It's a great place after all, Bialystok. But then during the pandemic, all of that came to a sudden halt. I started painting. So a friend and I, we were just watching videos, and we saw these painting tutorials, and one day we just figured, well, we can do that. Quite relaxing. It's almost like meditating, right? Because studying all day, you are actively engaging with all these facts and the knowledge, and especially while reading, you really have to focus on this, right? So your brain is constantly working on something, and like while you paint, your brain takes the passenger seat and your hands start doing the real work. Another one is I spend a lot of time in the outdoors, so I run, exercise every day, and actually Bialystok is quite, good for that, because you don't have to travel very far to see, to be in a forest or the lake and go on a hike. So one of my favorite places is actually one of the lakes here, Doylidi. Well, first off, I want to graduate. That's the biggest step. So I have another 3 years to go. So that's something, one step at a time, I say. And the honest answer is I'm not sure yet. Getting the degree first, and then I have still a couple years to decide. So I'll be working on that.